Welcome, everybody, to the award-winning Wire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings, brought to you by Chalkboard, brought to you by Prosper Trading. It is Friday, Halloween, October 31st. Alex Barutha here with Shannon McEwen and Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard.
As always, we're going to touch on some of the latest NBA news first before we go into the waiver wire, and then some Friday DFS / DraftKings Pick 6 suggestions. But first, the Spurs have they're undefeated still. They're 5-0 after a 107-101 home win over the Miami Heat. They actually have the best defense in the NBA right now per 48 minutes, allowing the fewest points. Wemby, 27 points, 18 rebounds, 6 dimes, 5 blocks. Nick and I talked about it on the radio show yesterday. He is down to 3-1 to win most valuable player after being 18-1 during the offseason. So if you have that ticket, good work. Is Stephon Castle, Ken, do you think he's the real deal to Wemby's Batman?
I do. I think the upside's there. You know, you're like, Harrison Barnes, why is he still starting for this squad? But yeah, Castle's arrow to me keeps pointing up, even with Harper coming off the bench. Thank goodness CP3 isn't on the squad anymore. Give Castle all the minutes he can gobble up. But I do think this is going to be a breakout year for Castle, which isn't saying much. I mean, the guy was rookie of the year, right? Like, of course, he's having an awesome second season.
What do you think happens when Fox comes back, Shannon?
It's going to be tough. I mean, immediately Fox will be inserted into the starting lineup. That much we know. I'm assuming they maybe go with a slightly smaller lineup with Castle and Vassell playing the 2 and 3, Fox at the 1. To be determined if it's going to be Barnes or Champagny as the 4 in that lineup. But that's what I have to assume they do. I'm going to push back a little bit on Castle being the Robin. I think I mentioned this last week or in a recent show, but this year, sure, Castle's great. I love Castle. Absolutely love him. But I do think 3 years from now, it's going to be Harper's the Robin, and Castle will say he's the Nightwing, which is a great thing.
It is an interesting log jam at ball handler here. They got Fox. How many years are left on his deal? And now
a lot.
Castle's,
I mean, they extended him
out.
I think the thing with Castle is he can handle the ball, but he has more turnovers than assists right now, and by a decent amount. He's 4.8 assists to 6.3 turnovers this season, so it's a pretty bad number. I think if Castle ends up being more of a wing, maybe that's sort of the final outcome for the Spurs team is you figure out how to work it with Fox and Harper because they're both good ball handlers, and then Castle plays on the wing.
Yeah, and when you have the ultimate rim protector as well, going with a smaller, they could run 4 guards out along with Wemby.
They could. Shannon, we had why don't you talk about your boy, Bilal Coulibaly?
Yes, Coulibaly returned, made his season debut Thursday for the Wizards, but the Wiz lose to the Thunder, who are now 6-0. Coulibaly played 24 minutes, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 stocks as well. I'm going to talk about him more later because he's criminally under-rostered right now. But it was great to see him. One, he returned probably a little bit earlier than originally expected. I think that mid-November timeline was kind of what folks were looking at. So getting him back a week or 2 early is nice. And also the fact that he was reinserted into the starting lineup immediately is very encouraging for his long-term value in fantasy.
Well, sad for, Corey Kispert owners. That's a joke. Yes, Coulibaly certainly should be a starter. Grady shot 50% from the field. That's the one scare, is that he doesn't improve his shot. But as you pointed out, I think Shannon in the chat only played 122 games so far. Still only 21 years old, so plenty of time to figure that shot out.
What's next, Shannon? Or sorry, Ken.
Yes. Hey, no Giannis, no problem. Bucks beat the Warriors in Milwaukee. Ryan Rollins, who I know Alex is going to talk about more later. Anyway, he shines again with 32 points and 8 dimes. Alex, your Bucks are off to a 4-1 start. Can they keep this up?
Right now they're winning games with their shooting. Basically, Bucks games are decided by field goal shooting. If the Bucks shoot hot, they're going to play well. If they hold the other team down, they're going to win. The rebounding, the turnovers, the free throws, those will end up pretty even every game. But the Bucks lead the NBA right now in effective field goal percentage. So the offense that they're running, basically give the ball to Giannis, send them to the paint. The other team freaks out, sends two guys every time. He passes it to somebody. Maybe that guy passes it to somebody. They shoot a three. Like that's all the Bucks do, and it's working. And obviously, like you don't like to get rid of Dame Lillard. He had the Achilles, so he wouldn't have been playing this year anyway. But you have some strong defenders on this team in the backcourt. Ryan Rollins, you mentioned, great defender. AJ Green's a pretty good defender. Miles Turner, I think at this point, is probably a better defender than Brook Lopez. So I'm relatively optimistic on the Bucks. Although obviously this was a fluke win against the Warriors without Giannis.
I think Lillard's defense was going to be a concern that would only get worse as he aged, even if he didn't get hurt and stayed on this Bucks roster.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into some news that probably a decent amount of people forgot about because I forget about it until I get reminded on Twitter that the NBA Cup starts today. Some quick injury updates for the NBA Cup, which is real and is happening. Out players that you are sort of recent injuries. I'm not going to do like, oh, Jalen Williams is out, but Tre Young's out, Jakob Poeltl's out, Dylan Brooks is out, Jalen Green is out. And Jalen Green was actually questionable for the previous game. So the fact that he's out is not great for this game. Questionable for tonight, Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell, Mitchell Robinson, Luka Doncic, Marcus Smart, Isaiah Collier, Jamal Murray. Now, some of those guys might not technically be questionable, but the injury reports haven't come out yet. So that's kind of what we're working with right now for the NBA Cup, which starts tonight. Don't forget.
How worried are you about that Tre Young injury, Alex?
So they ruled out that it was for people who didn't see it. I can't remember who it was. Someone fell into his legs, which is not good. So they initially diagnosed it with a knee sprain, said it was not an ACL. But if they're calling it a sprain, then the sort of implication is like, well, maybe it's just an MCL. He's getting an MRI. So, like, best case scenario, in my opinion, is probably 2 weeks. And if it's an actual MCL tear, it could be a month. So we'll see.
Unsavory. Well, tell us about our friends. Before we go to fan feedback, tell us about our friends at Prosper Trading.
Yeah, thank you everybody for all the questions. We'll try to get to as many as we can in a second. But Prosper Trading, every weekend, folks, millions bet on sports hoping to beat the odds. But here's the truth. The house always wins. With trading, you're not betting, you're building. At Prosper Trading Academy, we give you the tools, the education, and the live guidance to actually create an edge. You can control the risk, compound your wins, and trade alongside real pros every single day. Stop gambling on games you can't control. Start trading the markets you can. Visit prospertrading.com/roto, ROTO, prospertrading.com/roto today and take your shot at real financial growth. All right, well, Ken, what are you looking at for questions?
We got a beauty of a question right off the bat. Hey, Keyshawn George or Keontae George, rest of season, especially now that Shannon's Coulibaly is back in Washington. I love this question. Gentlemen, mull it over and give us some insights.
Well, interesting too. I will bring this up. Isaiah Collier is going to return soon. He's questionable. Now, I don't think that's going to cut into Keontae George as much as some other people think it's going to cut into Keontae George. But, wow. I think I might rather have Keyshawn, but I don't know, because I was pretty high on Keontae too. What do you think, Shannon? I'm gonna pass this off to you for a second.
Honestly, it is a tough one. I'm a big believer in Coulibaly. I think he's going to be fantastic for fantasy this season. Interestingly enough, Alex and I participated in a 20-team league draft yesterday. So doing a draft, 8 days into the season is always interesting to see how much values change. I actually happened to grab both George brothers in the draft. Keontae I got for $15 and Keyshawn for $18. personally, though, and the timing of the bids and who was put up for bid first, Keyshawn went up first. I think that's the primary reason why he went for a few dollars more. They're pretty even value-wise, in my opinion, right now. But I give the edge to Keontae. I just think that the pecking order of where Keyshawn is with the prospects on Washington is still to be determined. He essentially had a great stretch to open the season. Last night's game is a tough indicator of what's going to happen because OKC basically was in control of that entire game. It wasn't as close as the final score indicated, which still didn't indicate a close game. But no player, I think Keyshawn was the only player in Washington to play 30 minutes, though. Everyone else was around 24, 25 minutes. So it's certainly encouraging to see Keyshawn play 30 minutes. I do believe he'll get minutes over guys like Middleton as the season wears on. They're going to lean more heavily on their younger players. But I also just believe in Keontae. He's got that extra year of NBA experience under his belt over his brother. And he's looked fantastic. His playmaking in particular is much better this year. He's getting tons of assists. He's scoring and shooting at a higher efficiency. I'm going with Keontae, but it is close.
I mean, for some people, it might be as simple as like, do you need rebounds, steals, and blocks, or do you need assists and points? Like, what stats do you need? But yeah, that's all fair.
All right, well, let's move on to another beauty of a question from Dan. He's wondering about Ryan Kalkbrenner, the center in Charlotte, versus Jakob Poeltl, the back-injured center in Toronto. Who do you prefer of these two rest of season? I know where I stand, but what do you two think?
That's tough. I mean, Poeltl should be better. That's the thing. Like, he should be better than he's playing right now. And I think the back injury was hampering him to start the year. But this is also, I think I was lower on Poeltl than other people. Like, he had a career year last year, but the team was a mess. Everybody sat out. Like, he wasn't going to score 15 points a game again. He wasn't going to get the 3 assists.
No Ingram last year.
No Ingram. So I don't mind that swap, honestly. I don't mind keeping Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, I think upside-wise, Kalkbrenner might have the edge here. Poeltl's a little bit safer floor, or he should be, but it's risky. I would go Kalkbrenner as well, and I'm fine taking slack for that, but give me Kalkbrenner.
Gentlemen, newsflash question from our man Ramesh in India, and it looks like this is directed for Shannon. Come on, Ramesh, bring it. What's happening to Cade Cunningham? Until the last game, he had 31 assists and 24 turnovers, shooting 36% from the field. Ramesh, bringing the heat. Love this. Outside the top 100. Shannon, can you give him a kick in the backside?
Well,
any concerns with Cade?
No concerns at all. And there actually is a trend here. If you look at Cade's first few seasons in the league, he is a slow starter. This has been the case before. I'm not worried about it at all. He's coming off a monster performance where he dominated the Magic on both ends of the court, showed Banchero, Franz, all those guys, Desmond Bane, who the real star is on the court that night at least. Cade will be fine. Cade will be absolutely fine. 20 or 30 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 blocks, one of like only 6 dudes to ever have a game with that stat line. Nothing to worry about.
I actually not worried about the question. Just wanted to show Ramesh some love. All right, move on to Anthony, who says, I don't know if I can bring myself to trade Modest for Derek White.
Well, why don't you talk about this, Ken? You're our Derek White expert.
Derek White is not going to keep shooting this poorly, but he probably is going to shoot 41, 42% for the year. So I think this comes down to field goal percentage. But remember, White also leads all guards in block shots. So I'm still in camp Derek White unless you've got a real field goal percentage problem.
I mean, we did his projections before the season started. I only projected him to shoot 42%.
Right.
So this is not far.
Ranked higher in all the RotoWire algorithms, regardless of your league settings.
Yeah, I would like to pick Buzelis here, but I can't. I can't do it. Derek White, he's shooting 31%. I have plenty of hate coming for Derek White later on in the show, but he's shooting 31%. and he's still 17 for 4.5 with 1.5 steals. The 3-pointers start falling. He's taking 11.
They've got him taking every shot.
Yeah.
It's just jacking shots.
Yeah. No Tatum means field goal percentage will go down, but he's not getting as clean of looks. He's going to have to create for himself more, but he's going to be fine.
Yeah. Okay. I got the same dilemma myself. Is it time to drop Ace Bailey?
Yeah, when he was getting dropped by a lot of people before, like basically after his first 2 games, and I was telling people like, don't drop, like please try not to drop him back if you can help it, because knee tendonitis, he was sick. I still want to give him like a week, but the reality is, there might be great people on your waiver wire. We're going to talk about a few names, and there have been names that are great. So if you want to drop him, that's the thing. He was a post 100 flyer anyway. So if he ends up ranking 130th, that's kind of what we expect. Now, I think he's going to work his way up into the high 20s for minutes, but he hasn't been there right now.
Yeah, I mean, one of his key opponents, competition for playing time, is Kyle Filipowski. He's not playing that well either. I think Bailey could easily get inserted into Utah's starting lineup in the coming weeks, but I would not fault you at all for drafting him in a 12-team points-based league. If you can get someone who's available now, who's averaging twice as many fantasy points per game, do it. And my assumption is in a 12-team league, that's highly available.
Okay, and last question. Oh, Ryan dislikes my hat. Excellent. All right, let's move on. Let's get back to the agenda here, and I think it's time to hear from our good friends, Alex at Chalkboard.
Yes, sir. Cash in on your NBA picks this season with Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less on your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. For a limited time only, new players receive a free pick and a 100% deposit match. See why over 1 million fans have already locked in with Chalkboard to turn their sports knowledge into cold, hard cash. Whether you're locking in the perfect slip with alternate lines, using the cash out feature to take your money and run, or hammering the daily promos, today is your chance to win up to $40,000 on a single entry. Stop sitting on the sidelines and get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports, now available in 30-plus states. Download Chalkboard today and use promo code ROTONBA, that is ROTONBA, to receive a free pick and a 100% deposit match.
That's ROTONBA for a free pick and deposit match.
All right, it is time to talk about the waiver wire. As always, we are going to do 2 sort of standard league suggestions and then 1 long shot who would be rostered in fewer than 25% of leagues, although we're more in like 10% territory right now. In terms of game count next week or NBA schedule, Charlotte is the only team with 2 games. Everyone else has 3 or 4, so not a ton of streaming opportunities to be had in terms of relative strength. I'm going to kick things off. Last week, he was a long shot. This week, he is a standard recommendation, and that is Ryan Rollins of my Milwaukee Bucks, who is 34% rostered in Yahoo leagues, 46% in ESPN. Again, shined yesterday against Golden State, had a career night, looked awesome, proved that he's a guy that can take on more usage. 32, 8, and 3 out of Rollins last night. We still do not have a firm timetable for KPJ. He's day to day. So maybe Rollins won't start when KPJ comes back, but it's hard for me to imagine he doesn't see something like 26 to 28 minutes a game. I just don't think you can pull back and say, oh, Rollins, you're playing 23 off the bench now. I think, if anything, I don't know if KPJ will come off the bench, but I think it makes more sense for the Bucks if KPJ came off the bench. We'll see what Doc Rivers does. But I would pick up Rollins and hold and see what happens.
I like. Yeah, I have KPJ in a different league, and frankly, I'm quite nervous about his standing. All right, my pick, very simple. Why not? My not. The Celtics people have finally found their power forward. I live in Vermont. I'm surrounded by Celtics fan. I myself, of course, a Celtics fan. And of course, spoiled New England sports fans are all griping about a bridge year for the Celtics. And I say, hey, this is our year to find our Jose Altuve. That references baseball. Houston Astros were tanking for 4 or 5 seasons, giving playing time to folks that generally didn't seem to deserve it. And what did they do? They uncovered an MVP in second baseman Jose Altuve. Do I think the Celtics are going to find a MVP? No, but if they can find an excellent rotational player at a cheap discount off the scrap heap, fantastic. And I think Minott might be that guy. He started the last 2 games, and in those starts has averaged 13 points, but more importantly, 11.5 rebounds to go with 2 steals, 1 block, 1.5 triples, while shooting 55% from the field. The local station here is calling him the lawnmower because of his endless energy. I'm not sure that really applies. You need gas to power a lawnmower, whatever. But he is extremely energetic, which this team needs. But maybe most importantly, he is rebounding. This team was horribly out-rebounded in their first 3 games of the season. Minott is crashing the boards at 6'8". He actually might be a legit power forward, and there is no competition at the power forward spot on this Celtics roster. It's all smalls pretending to be power forwards. Boston has 4 games this week, so pick up Minott. By the way, I also want to add Ryan Kalkbrenner. He's still only rostered in 23% of leagues. We talked about him last week. That's insane. Grab him, even though Charlotte only has 2 games. But why not Minott?
Why not? I had him when he was with Minnesota. I had him on our staff keeper league as a G leaguer. In 23-24, he scored 22 points per game in the G League, 41 fantasy points per game. I'm a believer. So if you're hoping for a Sam Hauser or Chris Boucher breakout, probably not going to happen. But who knows? That Celtics front court is going to be crazy all season. Moving on, though, to my first recommendation of the week, I'm going with a rookie, Jeremiah Fears, guard for the New Orleans Pelicans, 6% rostered on Yahoo. The 19-year-old rookie guard has started back-to-back games for the Pelicans. He put up an absolute dud in his first start, but in his second start, he finished with 21 points, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 1 3 in 30 minutes Wednesday against the Nuggets. We're only 4 games into the season, and the Pelicans are an absolute mess. They've lost all 4 games while posting a league worst minus 19 point differential. Fears was selected 7th overall in the talented 2025 draft class. Like most rookies, he's going to have his ups and downs, but it wouldn't be a surprise to see the Pelicans give him an extended look as a starter at the expense of Jordan Poole, of course. I believe that Fears is worth an ad in most 12-team formats.
And we know they don't have their first-round pick next year, so Fears would continue to be their developmental player as they regret that horrible trade up to get Queen. But, maybe Zion stays healthy and learns how to rebound and turns things around. That's sarcasm. That is utter sarcasm. Love the Fears pick, Shannon. Love it.
Yeah, Fears is a guy who passes the eye test. Like, you watch the Pelicans play and you're like, whoa, like he looks like he's an NBA player already. So it's glad the stats are coming with it. And we'll see what happens with the Pelicans. That's all I can really add to that. My second waiver wire suggestion is Nickeil Alexander-Walker of the Atlanta Hawks, 30% rostered in Yahoo, 29% in ESPN. Like mentioned before, we are still waiting on MRI results from Tre Young's knee, but they've already said it was a sprain, and he's not going to play tonight. Alexander Walker has stolen Dyson Daniels' powers, like in Space Jam, the Monstars. And through 5 games, Alexander Walker is averaging 16 points, and honestly on percentages that should improve. And that's been with Tre Young available for a lot of this. So he's averaging 16 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, 1.4 steals, and 1 block in his 30 minutes per game. And with Tre Young off the court, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 9% usage increase. So I think you add him now, and you're going to get someone productive, and we'll see how long Tre Young is out.
They don't really have a backup point guard on this team.
Keaton Wallace is okay. Case and Wallace's brother. So he's play hard defense, and he can pass a little bit, but he is not like he hasn't shown a lot. Let's put it that way.
Who would have thought that the Hawks would be rolling out a 2022 Pelicans backcourt as their starting lineup?
Yeah. It's sort of like how the Kings are rolling out the Levine, DeRozan Bulls team. Who's your next guy, Ken?
My next two picks are both more short-term grabs, kind of streaming plays. Tre Jones of the Chicago Bulls. He's rostered in 37% of Yahoo and fewer ESPN leagues. He started all 4 games for the Chicago Bulls with Kobe White out. And early reports, it doesn't seem like White is close to returning. Over those 4 starts, Jones has given a solid 12.5 points and 7.5 assists with very strong percentages. He's not a great three-point shooter, never has been. But points, assists, and percentages, nice play there. I think he could be a solid contributor for 2 more weeks. And I do hope we eventually get some good news on Kobe White.
Yeah, I like the Deuce Jones pick until White returns. All right, I'm going to move right into my second suggestion. Bilal Coulibaly, wingman for the Washington Wizards, 24% rostered on Yahoo. We discussed him earlier, but Coulibaly made a season debut for the Wizards Thursday, finishing with 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, 1 steal, and 2 3-pointers in 24 minutes. Most importantly, Coulibaly was immediately inserted into the Wizards starting lineup, replacing Bub Carrington. Coulibaly missed the entire preseason and first 4 games of the regular season due to a ligament tear in his right thumb. Based on Thursday's game, he appears to be fine. At 21 years old, Coulibaly is one of the key pieces of Washington's young core alongside Sarr, Keyshawn George, Tre Johnson, and we'll toss in Carrington just to be nice. But Coulibaly, he what he really needs to do is show off an improved shot this year. It's his 3rd season, especially from downtown. He needs a better stroke from distance to really live up to his full fantasy potential. But with the 4 stocks we saw on Thursday, that just shows his upside on the defensive end. He's an immediate add for me in even 10-team leagues, but absolutely 12-team leagues. He should be pushing like 80% rostership.
Yeah, you may not start him every week, but after the trade deadline, you could get crazy benefits. You know, if McCollum and Middleton are gone and Coulibaly starts handling the ball more, and if he shoots better, I mean, I agree with you. He should be rostered. My final suggestion, my long shot, although I don't really consider this a long shot, but Jarace Walker, forward for the Indiana Pacers, 10% rostered on Yahoo, 6% on ESPN. With all of Indiana's injuries, they are maybe, if not definitively, the thinnest roster in the NBA. Mathurin is week to week. Toppin's out for a month. Nembhard is day to day, but I don't expect him to be rushed back. We're seeing a lot of Ray J. Dennis, who is also, if you're in a really deep league, take a look at that because he's passing the hell out of the ball. Jarace Walker, solid in the first 3 games of the season, showing off his versatility, kind of did what he did in the past couple of years, but really broke out in this most recent game against the Dallas Mavericks, which was a close game. He had 20 points on 5 of 19 shooting, 4 of 10 from 3, got to the free throw line 7 times, hit 6 of those. Also had 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and a block, and played 36 minutes per 36 for the entire season. He's averaging 13, 7, and 5 with 2.1 stocks, and he's only shooting 29% from the field. So I'm going to assume that the field goal percentage increases there, and you can average something closer to 15, 16 points per 36. You may have to, if you're in a category league, you may suffer some field goal percentage issues along the way, but I think Jarace Walker is close to a must-add in 12-team leagues.
I will reiterate, that's not a long shot. That's go get Jarace Walker. His minutes could be insane. It's a real shame what's happening in Indiana. And Carlisle's going to keep pushing the pace, especially with a thinner roster, right? Like, you know, what other alternatives does he have? So it's going to be a lot of shots for all the remaining Pacers who can stay healthy. My long shot is a long shot. And also, I think, though, a nice short-term play is Collin Gillespie of your Phoenix Suns. 15% rostered on Yahoo, 12% on ESPN. I have forgotten what our long shot rules are. I hope that qualifies. But he's getting big minutes with Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks out injured. And I think more importantly, though, and long-term, I think he's kind of the only true point guard on this talent challenge Suns squad. He's played over 31 minutes in each of the last 2 games with a really nice stat line of almost 15 points, 9 assists per game, 2.5 steals, 1 block, and 3.5 triples. This team lacks talent. They need to uncover some affordable gems, and Gillespie could be one of those gems. And like I said, maybe the only true point guard on this roster. Suns were a disaster when they insisted on having Booker play all the minutes at point guard. I'd love to see Booker at shooting guard or even small forward and let a true point guard set up these scorers to play a traditional game. Don't turn into the Orlando Magic of the last decade without a point guard.
Yeah, even after Green returns, I could see a scenario where he's like this year's Ty Jerome, providing decent value, especially in deeper leagues. I like that. I like that suggestion, Ken. All right. My final suggestion, long shot. Collin Murray-Boyles, forward for Toronto Raptors, 6% rostered. The Raptors selected Collin Murray-Boyles. That's a mouthful, man. With the 9th overall pick of the 2025 draft. CMB, he'll forever be dubbed from now on. Average 16.8 points, 8.3 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 1.3 blocks in his sophomore season at South Carolina. The rookie forward has played 24 and 25 minutes in his past 2 appearances for the Raptors, which included a spot start at center for Jakob Poeltl. Murray-Boyles has averaged 16 points, 1.5 steals, and 3 3-pointers in those 2 outings. Now, he was projected, CMB was projected as a strong 2-way player, very much a Raptors pick. That needs to further develop a shot. Does that ring a bell for their past few drafts as well? But he's hit 3 triples in back-to-back games. That 3-point shot seems to be coming along a lot quicker than most expected. I think there's upside here, especially in 14-teamers, maybe deep 12-teamers, where he's widely available. If you have room on your bench, he's worth a stash.
It's a real shame it's not Boyles Murray, so we can keep saying CBM. I'm a child. Excellent suggestion. Sorry to make a joke afterwards. Gentlemen, please take us to your to the fabulous DFS section. But I think before so, Alex, we have another friend to hear from.
Our partners at DraftKings Pick 6 have a deal you don't want to miss. New DraftKings customers, this one's for you. When you play $5 or more on your first paid Pick 6 entry, you'll get $50 in Pick 6 credits. That's right. Play $5, get 50 in Pick 6 credits to lock in your picks and take your shot at big wins. Just use our promo code. You can see it in the description below to sign up and start playing. If you've been thinking about trying Pick 6, now's the time to get in. Just use that link in the description to sign up, and all new DraftKings customers can play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Let's build some lineups. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-97-777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Ends December 2nd, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Shannon, we have kicked Ken out of the Zoom, and we are ready to go to talk about our Friday DFS / Pick 6 picks. 8-game slate tonight. NBA Cup slate. Please don't forget. Highest over-under, 240.5, which is Denver and Portland. As always, for the main injuries, check the RotoWire NBA injuries page or the starting lineups page. We touched on some of those specific injuries at the top of the show. I'm going to kick things off with a guy I already mentioned, Jarace Walker. They're playing Indiana's playing the Atlanta Hawks. And I like his over 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We talked about his per 36 minutes earlier, per 36-minute numbers earlier, 13, 7, and 5. I think he can shoot better. The Hawks have not provided a lot of defensive resistance despite having Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dyson Daniels and Porzingis and Okongwu and other good defenders on the court, including Jalen Johnson. So I am riding the hot hand with Jarace Walker tonight.
That makes sense, and I like that pick. I'm going to jump to my second pick first because I'm riding the cold hand with this pick, and that's Derek White, 21.5 points. White scored 25 points in the season opener, but he has averaged a disappointing 15 points per game in the 4 following contest. He's shooting 30% from the floor, 23% from downtown during this 4-game slump. Open looks, as mentioned earlier, are tougher to come by with Tatum not around to draw the defense's attention away. I'm leaning less on White tonight. This is a guy who he's never averaged more than 16.4 points per game. The 21.5 points just seems too high for me, especially during a slump.
Yeah, well, Ken, why don't you come in here for a second, Ken? Talk about, we got the Celtics on the slate, so we may as well bring you back in to do some discussion. You're playing Philly again.
Yeah, for the cup. Ooh.
For the cup. So what did you see in the first Philly game, and what have you seen lately from the Celtics?
Well, we barely saw Minott. It'd be good to see him get minutes, but also, boy, Edgecombe just lit them up with the second greatest, I think, rookie premiere ever. Really showed that, frankly, while the offensive strength of these Celtics is the backcourt, they're a little slow on defense. D. White is a little long in the tooth, and they really struggle. I mean, look, everyone's going to struggle with Maxey and Edgecombe. That's a dynamic duo. And while, the Celtics have no one to punish the Sixers for their hobbled 3-legged moose playing at center and making $100 million a year to do so. It's teams with quality front courts that are really going to punish the Sixers team, and the Celtics are not one of those quality front court teams. So they're gonna struggle to take advantage of the poor inside play. You know what I also really liked in game 1, but he's injured? Dominic Barlow, their two-way guy, super deep keeper leagues. I really like Barlow actually. And when Embiid inevitably is sitting a lot, could get monster minutes down the road. That's not going to help you for tonight, though.
Barlow's out tonight. Sorry.
Yeah,
guys.
he's out. He's out tonight, and I think a couple more games, unfortunately, elbow, I think. But that's more of a long-term play, and you asked me who I liked in game 1. Barlow looked great.
Yeah. All right, I got 2 more picks, 2 more pick 6 picks. I'll just fire them off right away. Kristaps Porzingis, over 20.5 points plus assists at the Indiana Pacers. Who is guarding Kristaps Porzingis on the Indiana Pacers? And we also have Trae Young out, so I think they're going to give the ball to Porzingis a lot, or the ball is just going to end up in Porzingis' hands a lot when the offense doesn't go as expected. And so I think this is a good spot for him to see increased usage. Plus, I also like Evan Mobley, over 24.5 points plus assists versus the Toronto Raptors. Cleveland has Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen questionable for tonight. Toronto has also one of those teams that in theory is good on defense, but the over-under for this game is 239.5. And Mobley's played solid this season, but I think if Donovan Mitchell or Jared Allen are out or hobbled, that this is a pretty good spot for Mobley to take over a little bit more of the offense.
Nice. I like both of those picks. I've got 2 more for DraftKings pick 6. Kelly Oubre, another player from the Boston-Philly matchup. Oubre's averaging 26 points, rebounds, plus assists in 39 minutes per game through the first 4 games of the season. His current PRA line on DraftKings pick 6 is 19.5. He's going to continue to see gigantic minutes until Paul George returns. As we just discussed, Barlow's out as well. I'm leaning more for Kelly Oubre. And then the aforementioned Jeremiah Fears, 11.5 points. Fears has scored 13 or more points in 3 of his 4 games, which includes both a 17-point outing and 21-point outing. Assuming Fears receives another start tonight, he'll have a great opportunity to go more on 11.5 points. Then moving on, going to suggest a few DFS picks, some of my favorite players to plug into DraftKings lineups tonight. Gotta triple, quadruple dip on fears. He's 4,600. Again, if he's in the starting lineup at 4,600, I'm going to add him. I'm going to start him. Collin Murray-Boyles, 3,900. We already know Poeltl's out. To be determined if Toronto will switch up their lineup or go with a small center again with CMB. It's the 6'7" CMB, I believe, at the 5. So if he's starting and he's 3,900, I like that option as well if you're looking for a discount. There's going to be a couple interesting scenarios with Atlanta. Tre's out. Same thing with Indiana with all of their injuries. One problem for both of those teams, though, is the Nickeil Alexander-Walkers of the world, Jarace Walker. Those guys have all bumped up in salary quite a bit. So a lot of them are between 5,000 or 6,000. Even the Ben Shepherds of the world who haven't been that productive, they've all gone up in salaries on DraftKings for Friday's slate. So I'm probably avoiding those. Alexander Walker, though, if he starts, 5,700, I like. And then two guys who I just think are great producers and undervalued. Their salaries are great values right now. Scotty Barnes, 8,100, and Walker Kessler, 6,800. Walker Kessler's top 40 fantasy points, 3 of 4 games, top 50 in at least one of those. It's unbelievable to me that he's only $6,800. So I will plug him into my lineup probably until he increases another 25% or so.
Yeah, Kessler especially has been a lot more involved in Utah's offense, passing the ball, shooting some threes, which I didn't think was going to continue happening. But both his 3-point percentage is solid and his free throw percentage is solid. So I think the Kessler bump is real. So I think it's a great suggestion. That wraps it up for our DraftKings Pick 6 more or less segment, for our DraftKings DFS segment. Ken, you're here to talk about old man things.
Arg! I hate Halloween.
No.
Get off my lawn. Why do people enjoy rock hard candy crapped out from giant factories? I don't want to entertain your kids. Murder movies are for degenerates.
Yep.
Does anyone else remember sweating profusely under thick rubber masks? Ugh. Can we please just fast forward to Thanksgiving? Ah!
Can I imagine you with a bowl full of salad when the kids come to your door and you got the little
Yep.
Here you go. Take some kale.
Ken's the neighbor who gives out apples, and everyone's like, "We're not going to that house next year."
I used to actually work at Nestle, and I got a big discount on their candy. And this is when I lived in Cleveland. And the guy in my house before me was the dentist, and he handed out toothbrushes. So we went from like toothbrushes to my Nestle candy, and I was actually like a rock star for a few years in Cleveland. They were just so happy that the block had made that upgrade. But that was 20 some odd years ago, and I just can't stand it now. I just don't even want to be home. I don't like. Last year we went to see Springsteen in Montreal for Halloween, and it was great. Got to skip the whole everything. Our house didn't get egged. It was the way to go. But I hate Halloween. Hate it.
Since we're off the rails now, Shannon, do you have a favorite horror movie?
Ooh, favorite horror movie of all time? Ooh, that's so tough. Monster Squad is fantastic. I try to watch Trick or Treat every year on Halloween. My 7-year-old son's been begging me for years to sit down and watch it with me. Too many titties in that movie and violence for him, though.
Is there such a thing?
Recent Hereditary is one of my favorites, and Weapons. I do plan on watching Weapons again. I saw
My
it in
kids
theater.
loved Weapons. They're
I love it.
degenerates. They like that weird stuff.
Yeah. Colleen, my girlfriend, liked Weapons. I'm not much of a horror movie guy. I do have a soft spot for I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I like Shutter Island, which is a little more modern. All right. I don't think we mispronounced. We may have mispronounced any names, but I didn't write them down. So you guys,
I love to hear both of you say Bilal Coulibaly. Just the way it rolls.
And I don't even think we're pronouncing it right because apparently it's Bilal Coulibaly, and I don't like. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I don't like that as much. Hit a 3-pointer first, Bilal.
He hit 2 of them last night. Get off your
Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It's brought to you by DraftKings, Chalkboard, and Prosper Trading. Don't forget, it's not at the bottom of the screen right now, but YouTube 15 promo code for rotowire.com. Go to rotowire.com/subscribe. I'm sure there'll be a big box promo code YouTube 15. That's where you saw us. And that is, in fact, how you get 15% off a RotoWire subscription.
Still can't see it.
You get access to our DFS lineup optimizers, premium articles. For those of you listening on audio, Ken is having a tough time with StreamYard. You get the My Leagues tool. Again, if you're in like 5, if you went overboard and you join 25 fantasy leagues and you're like, who's on my waiver wire? Who do I even roster? I drafted Brooke Lopez. Why is he still on my team?
Who's a free agent or not? I love using My Leagues when a name comes up to just go to the page and see where he's free agent on my various leagues. Because I can't remember, 7 leagues and who's available or not. It's the quickest way to check.
YouTube 15, get that RotoWire subscription, not just for basketball, for everything. All right, Ken, take us out of here.
Let's go to NBC Sports for some Michael Jordan wisdom and his disdain for load management. Quote, you play basketball 2.5, 3 hours a day, right? That's your job. That's what you get paid to do. What are you doing for the other 21 hours? To me, that's when you should be preparing for your next day at work. Now, I'm the worst. Maybe I'm not the guys you would model that after. For anyone who knows about Jordan's golf gambling, I assume that's what he was joking about. Anyway, I want to point out Michael Jordan was 40 years old in his last season with the Washington Wizards. He played in all 82 games and averaged 37 minutes a game, 20 points, 6 boards, 4 assists. As a 40-year-old, load management's baloney. Attention passengers. This 3-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line.